Okay, we're going to move into our open mic period. I will announce our next Helicon West is April 12th, and that will be Poetry at 3, which is a long-standing poetry group in the valley here. I am part of that group. Star Colebrook is part of the group, Brock to chair. We also have Russ Wynn, Mary Ellen Greenwood, Felicia Rose, and Isaac Tim, and so that will be fun, and we hope that you can come back and join us for that on April 12th. Okay, we're going to move into our open mic, and this is looking really good, and I'm excited to announce our first 3 readers, all of whom I know and are awesome. And so I'll announce the first 3. You can come up, just repeat your name again, and then I'll come back up and announce our last 4. So I have an awesome fiction writing class this semester, and Megan Steedman is going to read for us tonight. She's in my class. And then John Aimone, and then Millie Tullis.
Okay, once again, I'm Megan. Hi, nice to see all of you. This is just a really short thing I wrote as an exercise in Shannon's class in perspective and point of view. Okay, it's called Lettuce. You wipe sweat from your face and check your watch for the 8th time in 4 minutes. Every moment of your lunch break is precious, and this line of indecisive imbeciles has the audacity to waste it. At last, the line moves. Exactly 17 minutes have elapsed since you set foot in Taco Bell, over half your allotted time. Anxious annoyance builds as you step up to the counter. Will you even make it back to the office in time? Doritos Locos Taco, you say, hold the lettuce. Your usual. The manager at the register is one you don't recognize, though. I mean it, slips out unintentionally, but you don't regret it. You have no time to remedy errors today, not when fighting Cinco de Mayo traffic all the way back to work. Minutes tick by, you wipe sweat from your face again. It's hot, almost too hot to breathe in the dry Arizona air. Your suit is tight, your waistband pinches. Your food arrives at last, another 7 minutes lost. You rush to the door, there is no time today. You paw through the bag for your lunch and fumble for your keys, then you stop. Horror. Your blood pulses behind your eyes, boiling in the heat. Lettuce spills over your hand from the unwrapped taco. No, you meant it. The chime on the door sounds a warning bell as you storm back inside. How could they do this to you when you are already running late? How could they? You wipe sweat from your face, passive bodies part before your furious shoves. The manager, how could she? You meant it. The taco shatters on the counter, spraying lettuce. She slowly lifts her gaze. You read her tag, Janet. I said no lettuce, you snap. You meant it. Sir, we will be happy to replace it if you could just wait. Damn it, I'm already late, you interrupt. Why doesn't she understand? Where is her urgency? Please step to the side, sir. You wipe sweat from your face, your waistband pinches, your suit is tight, it's almost too hot to breathe. No, you need to fix this now, sir, if enough. You wipe sweat from your face, you reach for your waistband, it pinches, you draw your Glock. They meant it, they've made you late. They don't seem to care, why don't they care, why don't they see, how could they? The people behind you panic, you barely notice, you're focused on the manager. Show her what she's done, you shove the barrel of your gun in her face. Bitch, she'll pay for this, she did this, she made you late. She's wrestling for the gun, your knuckles hit the counter, you weren't expecting a fight. Hands lock on the collar of your shirt and you're falling back. You land on hard gray tile, knock your breath away. Janet kneels over you, she has your gun, it's hot, the tile is cold and you can't breathe. You swing at her, your suit is tight, you can't reach. You see her eyes full of fury, 1,000 times as hot as your own. She screams in your face, I hate this shitty job. That's her gun, you reach for it, she brings it down, unforgiving metal cracks across your head. It's hot, almost too hot to breathe in the dry Arizona air. Stern hands hold you tight, your handcuffs pinch. You wipe blood from your face, 36 minutes have elapsed since you set foot in Taco Bell. You are late, the cops don't care. Janet, who hates your dog, glares as you are shoved into the back of a police cruiser. She meant it.
Hello, I'm John Aimone, and this is a microfiction piece I worked on as a part of the Cache Community Writing Center. This is entitled Judgment at Disney World.
Colder than a witch's tit,
said the 7-year-old. The child said it without provocation, like a trigger phrase for mind control. It wasn't even cold out. 98, in fact. Dad felt as limp and vacant as those Toy Story carnies when you shout, "Andy's coming!" "Where'd you hear that?" Dad asked. The kid shrugged. His sandals lit red with every step, and for this reason the little bastard, not that word, Dad thought, now that he fully contemplated its meaning. This little cretin stomped everywhere. Dozens of details collapsed into a shape, the stomping, that indifferent cowlick, and finally those phrases a kid this age wouldn't possibly know. All passed down from Dad's brother. Suddenly, the kid runs by with Tigger's severed tail dragging behind like a streamer. Tigger himself, sans head, bolts up to Dad. "Are you this kid's father?" Of all the questions to ask, this one hollowed Dad out like buckshot. Tigger glanced at father, then at son, and seeing no resemblance, moved on to accost somebody else.
I'm Millie Tullis, and actually this poem I also wrote at the Community Writing Center, so I guess that's a good plug, if it's good as that story. But this is about La Llorona, which is a Mexican folk legend. So it's titled Weeping Woman the, see also Crying Woman the. La Llorona's husband fell in love, fell into a younger body, and La Llorona drowned her children, or lost them, to the pool of water, because they were too small in her hands. She was preoccupied, see husband. Note, husband's role does not change. Current state of body. La Llorona is afraid to move on without children, or she is not allowed to enter without them. She drowns herself, and she does not die. She is silent, crying, or cries, "Oh, my children," or "Where are my children?" She asks them to forgive. They are her children, and not her children. She is found in desert mountains. Note, a mountain lion cries like a woman, or she is found near water, searching for little bodies, adding bodies, losing sharp edges in water. And then I'm going to read one more called Dirty Girl. The root grows from me. I am mother, a peony pink hood waiting, but the weight turns in. I am wet box collapsing. Something inside died. You don't go near it. You fear death too well. Death smells. Give me nothing. Death smell gives me nothing to lace fingers around. I can't measure it. Even suspended in hot water, I can't get the parts clean. There must be something wrong with it. After you touched, hooked me around your index like a beckoning. You kept that finger away from the rest of your hand body, rushed to wash it as if you can smell what I taste. Thank you.
This is why our reading series is so awesome, because we have awesome open mic every single time. We have tons of talented people in this community, and I encourage all of you to come back to Helicon, sign up for open mic, even if you're terrified, and just do it, and you'll be proud of yourself. Okay, so our last 4 readers tonight will be Brittany Allen, Mia Jensen, Chris Davis, and Addi Castillo. Did I pronounce that correctly? Okay, come on up.
That was awesome, you guys. I know most of you, and the other half I don't, but I love you all in like this really weird way. Well, it doesn't have to be weird. Like, you can decide if it's weird. But I mean it purely. Speaking of pure, anyway. My poem tonight is titled Deboned. I missed the thunder of his hip bone need, rolling me flat against the feathers of morning, the crawl of his jaw down white belly and up wet throat, hands like violent felt I long to hang on. I'll turn down black sheets with my teeth, lick cum stains clean with tongue between knees, naked at the lips but wrapped tight with nylon need, no one spanks me. I'll pinch myself in name of you, lover,
of your warm self-press spitting my pink. If I dress in honeymoon blue, will you crack me over your knee? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jensen, and this is a poem that I wrote after watching too many animal rights documentaries. It's called The Price Paid. Going, 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 gone. Consumption without reason. Destruction with no real cause. Who pays the price for our greed? Cages, coops, prison formats, where sunlight's just a legend. Steroids, shots, death sentence. Do we know they pay for us? Fishing, trapping, euthanizing, mass production of lives lost. When we demand, they supply. We supply mass extinction. Handbags, coats, and chocolate shakes, chicken, beef, pig intestines, shoes, purses, milk, and cartons, we consume without question. They dwell on aisle 7 in the local grocery store, and buried in paper bags beneath the golden arches. They live for just one purpose, and that purpose may seem bleak. They live so we can kill them and forget the price they paid.
All right, so I don't remember if it was last Helicon or the one before, but I came and told you guys that I had poems with feedback from a certain poetry professor who shall remain nameless. Basically, if you're involved in USU English at all, you know he's the only poetry person not here right now. What I'm getting at, last week in his class, someone made him cry with their poem, and then I immediately followed that person, which is what it feels like following the slam team. Yes. And all of my poetry that I'm about to read actually has his comments on it. So if that means anything. Less comments than usual, so I'm improving, maybe. All right, this one's called Stung While Sanding the House. Scraping the paint off the house under the falling sun of a late June afternoon, sliding the sanding block across the weathered wood, cracked and splintered, grinding the old paint chips, paint away in chips to make way for the new coat. Under the awning, a company of wasps, yellow and black-backed, antenna extended like the leafless branches of a tree in winter, stick their filaments together, turning wood fibers into pulp, working on their own house under the eave of mine. They hum into the air, little UFOs circling in rhythmic flight patterns as I work closer, warning me to abandon my approach, but I persist. My constructions need greater than theirs. My head surrounded with the zipping buzz of them, I work on, a fool with too much pride of place. A needle-tipped end pierces my forearm, the sting beating under the outer layer of my skin, a pulsing volcano. I cock to swat them, taught my lesson by the tiny flying buggers, but something stays my hand. Okay, and this is called the tick off. A twist and a switch are all it takes to drive her up the wall. The hand-whittled golden finch nestled just so up against a blown glass heart on the bookshelf by the front door. The trout frame from Yellowstone on the kitchen counter, my brother and I pictured inside. The 8 Russian nesting dolls positioned in the descending curve around the crystal brontosaurus on the bathroom sink. We moved them all. Weaving between scattered piles of open and unopened mail, cooking magazines, and hundreds of sticky notes to self, we'd swap or shift her, little bits of happiness by mere degrees, as carefully as she arranged them, so she couldn't see the speck of shelf uncovered in dust. We watched the door open from our hiding place. With only 1 foot in the door, she turns to the bookshelf and sees the finch a fraction of an inch from where she left it. "Christopher, Brian, not again!" She immediately sets about twitching them back into place, a degree at a time, as we crouch behind the couch, stifling laughs.
I'm Addi, and then this is something I wrote for class, and it's not its final form. So, and if you know me, I like to write things that are like natural and not fancy. And also, I did this in a field school. It's a story, like oral story stuff, plus my own voice. At the shoreline, there appeared a bell made of gold. The bell had a blessing intended for the Huanchaco church. The fishermen of the city carried the bell from the shore to the tower of the church. Every Sunday, the bell would toll a beautiful sound to awaken the people of Huanchaco. However, the neighboring city, Trujillo, would hear this melodious sound, and some of their residents would attend the Huanchaco Mass. When they saw that this poor city, made up of only fishermen, had acquired a bell made of gold, they became envious. The city of Trujillo decided they wanted to steal the bell. My mom decided to travel the world before she had children. She had me at the age of 38. She put me in a private kindergarten where I learned French, English, and Spanish. My mom and dad believed that savants are made, so I listened to classical music in the womb, learned how to read at the age of 1, and learned to swim at the age of 3 months. I only remember the swimming. I don't remember the day that someone tried to take me from my mother's arms while walking down the streets in Lima, Peru. That's the day that she decided that she wanted to move to the United States. I do remember the plane ride and having an upset stomach. I used to not remember my dad, except for someone who took me to the shore and showed me where the starfish lived. My mom took me to California because she said it was safer than what was happening in Peru. One evening, they took advantage of taking the bell from the tower. They brought it down and put it on a wagon. On their way to Trujillo, the road became steep as the elevation rose. The bell fell off the wagon and started rolling back to Huanchaco. The fishermen once again placed the bell in the tower. They decided to hire a watchman. Modesto is the first place I can remember clearly. I don't know when my grandmother came to help take care of me, but I know that she was determined to have me well fed. I only grew up on Peruvian food. I only ate Peruvian food because it was delicious, and whenever I go to an American restaurant, I eat chicken tenders, because that's the only thing that I know. The school I was going to was for immigrant Mexican children, specifically the children of farmhands in that area. The state did not require us to learn English because they assumed that that's what we would be doing for the rest of our lives, working on the farm. I was in special education because of a Spanish stutter. Hermosa Beach was the next place I lived. I grew up there, and that was where I learned how to swim in the ocean. I saw only blue eyes, tan skin, and beach blonde hair of the people around me. My mom had just finished English school and had learned what special education meant. She threw a fit when Hermosa View wanted to transfer me to an LA inner city special education program for first graders. If you've ever been to LA, you know that that's a really dangerous area. She did not want me to be in another dangerous situation. In broken English and lots of yelling, she convinced the school that I just needed to be paid more attention to, and that it was not fair to throw me out of school just because I had not learned English yet. They hired a teacher from Los Angeles who knew Spanish and English. She was the first Spanish-speaking teacher at Hermosa View. The people of Trujillo wait for the people of Huanchaco to no longer feel the need of the watchman. The people of Huanchaco get bored and disemploy the watchman cycle. Then the people of Trujillo return to the Huanchaco church, and for the second time, they steal the golden bell. However, this time the Trujillo thieves tie the golden bell to the cart with a rope, and once again, when the elevation rose, the bell breaks through the ropes and returns to Huanchaco. I found out that I did not know Spanish when I went back to Peru to see my dad. Everyone kept telling me that I was mixing up words, just like they do whenever I speak English. I did not learn until I came back to the United States that the Spanish I grew up around was the Spanglish, or Mexican dialect. Words like parquear, which is park, is estacionar, and lonche, which is lunch, is almuerzo. My dad asked me how much I could have how I could have forgotten so much of my language, and asked me why I had such horrible grammar. I have horrible grammar in English, so the direct translation must have been horrible. I came back home and asked my mom why she never corrected me. It's because she doesn't like being teased, and so she decided she would not tease me. I told her to correct me from then on. I don't speak Spanish to Spanish-speaking strangers. My brother mocks me for having an American accent whenever I speak Spanish and act like an American. I tell him that I am not American. He tells me that I am not Peruvian. I try to explain to him that American culture is spreading to Peru. He tells me that this is what white people do. They take over the world and erase other cultures. The fishermen once again place the bell in the tower. However, this time they decide not to put any guards because they know the golden bell can take care of itself. For the third time, the people of Trujillo attempt to take the golden bell from Huanchaco. One time when I was in Hermosa Valley, a kid called me a wetback. I did not know what it meant, but I know it was bad. I did not remember who told me what the word meant, but I still did not understand. I did not know how could anybody cross a river to get from Peru to the United States. That was like a bunch of states and a lot of countries. So I remember that I came by plane. It did not make any sense. There was one other Latin girl in Hermosa Valley, and she was not allowed to tell me how she came to the United States. A lot of them cannot say. My mom told me not to answer the door at her work in downtown LA because the people who work there don't have their papers yet. We had our papers because my aunt is an immigration lawyer. I sent her a thank you letter when I got accepted to college. They tell me that it is to make your bed, not to fold your bed. I laugh with them when I realize my error, and then they tell me to sweep the floor, not to broom the floor. In my defense, that's how my mom says the word in English, so I just learned it that way. My teachers tell me that I need to fix my grammar and read my S's out loud. Apparently I have something called fragment sentences and comma splices. So I buy the big blue book of grammar. I realize that I did not pay attention to my grammar classes growing up because the teachers were using words that everyone else knew. I did not know what a subject was and a pronoun. The world around me seems to keep updating their dictionary as I try to catch up to phrases and words that middle schoolers learn. This time, the thieves tie the golden bell to the cart with chains. Finally, they succeeded in reaching the city of Trujillo. They placed their prize in the tower of the Trujillo Cathedral. I started dating a Mexican man from Inglewood, California. If you know where that is, it's a really dangerous area. He had been mugged at gunpoint for his cell phone, and he came to class with stitches on his eyebrow. His mom does not let his 10-year-old little brother go to the neighbor's house. He tells me that I am privileged and whitewashed. After I ask him why his little brother doesn't grow up and just take the bus to school, he doesn't understand anything about that. He just says, "You're privileged." My high school comes to my home in Hermosa Beach to make sure that I actually live there. Apparently, Hispanic kids who want to go to nicer schools lie and fake about their addresses. They met my stepdad and asked him if I lived there. He said yes. They looked at my white, male American stepdad and told him to show where my room was. He did. My mom has said to me over and over, if it wasn't for my stepdad, I wouldn't have the privileges that I do. I would have to pay for college, I would have to pay for my car, I would have to pay for so much. My mom tells me to remind myself every day how lucky I am. The city celebrates and invites all the nobles of their city to view and hear the beautiful golden bell. As they celebrate, they are shocked to see the bell break the chain that it hangs on and fly back to Huanchaco. However, the golden bell does not return to the bell tower of the Huanchaco church. Instead, it flies back to the shore where it was found. On this coast, there is a large mountain where the bell chooses the highest spot and lands. Anthropology is my passion. I have chosen to study culture because that is what I have grown up around. I have grown up around being in between two cultures, and it's really fun. When my grandma comes to visit me, I tell her about what I'm studying, and she tells me don't come back to Peru because it's always been dangerous. I tell her I want the world to know about their cultures, whether it's Peruvian culture or whether it's American culture. She says, follow your dreams. Legend says that every 5 years, the people of Huanchaco and Trujillo can hear the bell from within the mountain. This is at the same time as their festival. Since then, the mountain has been known as Bell Mountain.
Rob, would you like to read tonight? Yeah. Come on up.
Hi.
Hi, Rob.
From Friday dilemma. When the state's payday, state's pride, I don't know why. Since they haven't been given a single piece of pie. If they don't get it, I don't understand. That I will. I'm not a man. Until then, before I cry, You want some pie? Give me some pie.
All right, so I guess that's it, unless we have any last people we'd like to meet. Okay, thank you so much for coming. Let's have one more round of applause.